you are only responsive insofar as you're covering all the channels through which people can contact you, new or existing clients, and that you are giving them the information that you know they need, not necessarily that they ask about because they're not the experts, you are, and that you are obviously being speedy to get back to them. So responsiveness is not just a matter of speed, it's also of content and channel.
Amazing, right?
Maddy Martin, welcome to the ROI Online Podcast.
Thanks for having me, Steve. It's great to be here.
Maddy, you come from a background of inbound marketing. You're now with Smith.ai. You're the VP of marketing. So you've earned your chops. Smith.ai is a company that believes responsive businesses win more clients. And in fact, it's an answering service. And now tell me if I'm getting this wrong, but it's a company that helps businesses answer faster, more intelligently, the inquiries that are coming in. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's a start. That is the core of it, is to be responsive, right? So if you put it in the lens of we're an answering service, then you start with something familiar, which is always important in marketing in general. Yeah. But it goes down a deep rabbit hole from there. So it's a lot more than just an answering service.
Yeah, so that is like the number one marketing challenge that most of the companies I work with have, is like, we do all these things and it's hard to tell someone in just one sentence the essence of what we do.
It's very hard to have that elevator pitch and to have it be so comfortable that you can say it in a number of different ways. I find that is one of the biggest challenges. You get your pitch down and then it comes at you with a curveball in a different way. Someone asks it in a way and you're not prepared. So it's really important that you practice explaining your business to people who are totally uninitiated. If there's anything that you can do in marketing, it's that, because there's so many different formats on digital marketing, even print and offline marketing, and then conversations that you'll have that you need to demonstrate such amazing flexibility and familiarity with your brand, with your company, that the questions follow because you've got it so down pat that people want to hear what you have to say about what you're doing.
Yeah, and I think to be able to actually put your service in a scenario in the mind of the person that's listening where they go, oh, exactly, I see it in the future, right?
Mm-hmm. And don't be afraid to start granular, right? So that's sort of what you're getting at. And I think oftentimes, you started just with the answering service description of Smith.ai. That's totally fine. Let someone also guide that conversation. You might say, well, do you also make outbound calls? Or someone else might say, well, can you answer my texts in addition to my chats? Or can you answer my personal cell phone? Like, where do they want to take that conversation? Mm-hmm. But sometimes just seeding it in a really granular way, saying, all those people who fill out the contact form on your website, how quickly are you getting back to them? Well, that definitely sparks something in most people's business owning brains or business operating brains, because I have a pretty good sense that almost everyone who runs a business has a website and it's got a form on it. So it's not really a shot in the dark. It might seem granular, but it's widely applicable.
Well, when I read the responsive businesses win more clients, solutions to answer and act on every lead, I think that reveals that you understand as a business owner, we're struggling to take advantage of every opportunity that comes to us. And so I feel like you understand that that's something I'm insecure about, whether I'm doing the best I can every single time.
And you probably are doing the best that you can, but the problem comes when you try and prioritize and stretch every hour of the day as you possibly can, often beyond just the 9 to 5. And you wonder, how in the world am I going to actually be responsive to new potential clients or customers while working on and fulfilling the existing demand and oftentimes contracts for the existing clients, right? So there is a real dilemma. Do you fulfill your current promises? Who's doing that? Is it you? Is it your team? And then how do you not miss the next wave of business, especially when you're investing in online marketing, any sort of advertising or channel where you're exposed online? If you have referrals, if you have reviews, those are coming in, and you need to make sure that you're responsive across every channel. Because often, Steve, we see people, sort of have the remark, well, I'm answering my calls. Well, but you have a Facebook page, and Facebook has built a very powerful recommendation engine. And if you just think, I've added website chat, but you're not responding to your Facebook messages, if you have a VoIP phone system for your business phone, and you don't even know that there are text messages coming in there, then you're not fully responsive. You are only responsive insofar as you're covering all the channels through which people can contact you, new or existing clients, and that you are giving them the information that they need, not necessarily that they ask about, because they're not the experts, you are, and that you are obviously being speedy to get back to them. So responsiveness is not just a matter of speed, it's also of content and channel.
So as you were talking, I was thinking about, let's make a list of all the potential inbound channels coming to you that you know about and potentially are oblivious to. So phone, email, if you have a chat bot, a form on your website, those are just the starting, right?
Right? All the social media channels that you're on, and then also Google My Business, which you're going to need that app to respond and monitor those messages. Any other channel that you have a business profile online, you might be on marketplaces and listing sites. We work with a lot of attorneys, marketing agencies. Are you getting leads through sites like Clutch or review sites where you might get inbound email leads with details there to follow up on? There are so many different profiles, and more, these platforms where those profiles are hosted are, taking that messaging onto their own platform and not necessarily emailing you. It's important to even check those settings, but then when you take that inventory, Steve, you're going to say, okay, what is the channel? Who is an owner of it? And is that owner responding, or who is the responsive party? Because they might not be the same. And that's really important. I can be the VP of marketing, but I'm not going to be in every single Facebook group and every message. We have a hiring team. We have so many other conversations that are going on beyond just Smith.ai as a brand, and it's across many channels. You can't do that all by yourself. And the sooner that you learn to document and then delegate, because that's really the sequence, the happier you'll be and the more empowered you'll feel, even though you're delegating, to grow your business further, because you have a solid foundation and you can spend more money on that advertising. You can spend more money on, sponsoring podcasts. You can confidently sort of go out with your brand because the new leads, the ROI will be there. The responsiveness is the single biggest factor in whether or not someone is going to move forward with your business. They will not wait. They won't wait for an email back. They won't wait for a voicemail return call. And even when you do call, interestingly, 50% or less of those calls are even answered. So if you miss it, you have a small shot of getting them and a small shot of them even being available when you do call, if you call at all.
So the name Smith.ai intimates that there's artificial intelligence involved here. And it's this big, giant challenge of, well, I would like to have a person answer every call. It's just more personal. It feels better. But when you list off all of those platforms, that's a big, deep hole, because have you claimed all those listings? Each one has idiosyncrasies. Each one has a different form of communication back and forth. You could hire in-house 3 or 4 people and still not have all of your bases covered. And that's assuming they all have your messaging down pat, that they're answering questions accurately, that they're actually dealing with people politely, helpfully. That's just this big danger zone that you have to go through.
It's a huge danger zone. And actually, what's even a big lurking danger zone that you didn't mention to stack on top of that is the team that you put on top of your social media, on top of your phone line, right? We often see that small, medium businesses are putting the wrong people there. And what I mean is they don't want to be there. Those are the wrong people there. They have other more important things to do. If you have your marketing manager responding to every social media message and they're pulling their hair out because they can't get their projects done and they're going to get a did not complete that quarter, they're terrified, they're unhappy because they're a high performer. And we see this across all different business types. For example, law firms putting their paralegals on the phones. A paralegal is a billable employee for you who you can actually charge back to the client when they do meaningful legal work. Don't put them on the phones, right? And there are many other similarities. It could go to a warehouse. It could be someone who's running, an online commerce, whatever. You have people who are well-trained, integral to the business, can take that conversation as a salesperson instead of on the front line for screening and scheduling. So when we think about how do you divide your team and assign things wisely, you want a frontline team that can handle those inbound calls and chats and messages consolidated under one group so you don't have to, every time you update your pricing or add a new service or product, tell 20 different contractors or individuals. That's sort of a nightmare. You want to tell one company, right? And then internally, the people who you've trained, you want them to do the most valuable work for you, just as you would expect of yourself spending your own time. So it's really critical that you take that inventory and you also delegate wisely based on the skill level of the team that you have.
So I got a list of questions I get asked a lot. And so what I'm curious about is how you answer them. And so this will be fun and helpful. So these are obvious, but they're important. What is an answering service?
So an answering service is, a wide definition depending on who you ask, but you're asking me. So I'll tell you, Smith.ai has expanded the definition. And what we believe an answering service is an omni-channel solution that is backed by both live agents and AI. So it is human staff, but made more efficient through technology so that we can answer and get real work done by carrying the conversation forward so that it is ready for someone to take to the next level that only someone internal can. For example, an answering service will take a message typically. What Smith.ai does is we will screen and pre-qualify a lead. We will take payment if you charge for that consultation, schedule the consultation on the calendar based on the availability of whomever we're scheduling for, and unless someone was available for a warm transfer, and then that call is on the calendar. The caller gets an invitation, probably through the calendaring software like Calendly, Acuity, and that's automated. They also, through Smith.ai, connecting to their CRM like Salesforce or HubSpot, you name it, that contact and the conversation, those call notes from the receptionist are logged immediately in that system. So when you have that call, you begin from an existing record and you add notes and you carry that workflow forward if they're a good potential client, signing a fee agreement, moving forward with that work scope, et cetera. So that is a powerful solution that feeds people from your marketing team into your proper sales funnel. And there's no sort of juggling, losing, or stumbling around leads that normally happens. Now, outbound as well, making calls to those contact forms and anyone who is contacting you by email, On the new lead side and also on the existing client side, you might find that you need an answering service to call a client to request payment on an unpaid bill because you have a close personal relationship and you don't want to stumble around a transactional conversation with them. So there are a number of ways to use the services. And obviously through website chat, you have the discrete nature of those conversations, especially during COVID when people are at home. Imagine again, I like the law firm examples, but imagine you've got a couple who are seeking to divorce, might not want to have a phone call in your home with someone on the phone with an attorney. Chat might be more appropriate. Financial advisors, IT, people like that sort of thing when talking about complex or difficult subjects.
Excellent answer. We're listening to Maddy Martin. She's the VP of Marketing at Smith.ai. We're asking a list of questions that I get asked a bunch. So, Maddy, what does an answering service cost?
So a lot of answering services charge by the minute, and you'll find they are sort of variable costs. And the trouble is that when you have a marketing funnel that is based on impressions and clicks and form fills, it's very hard to have minute-based pricing because it's hard to tell what is your cost per call. So we have a cost per call. You can add on optional features such as the scheduling or payment collection, maybe an intake form for a new client. And that is completely customized for every account so that you get only and exactly what you need on a per call basis. There's an upfront quota that we give you, and then there's overage. So you never have a missed call. You just sort of extend beyond your plan and, square up at the end of the month.
That's funny. So you never miss a call. So some services, I'm just picturing and giggling that some services, all right, it's a flat rate, but after you reach that rate, then we don't answer your calls anymore.
No, or they have limited hours. They might be 9 to 5, or they might charge you extra for the weekends, right? So you want to look at those things with Smith.ai currently, depending on when you're listening to this. I can't promise future pricing, but it's about $5 to $7 per call. And it really goes down as your volume of calls go up. And it's a matter of what other features you need. Now, when you think about the value of a client and missing a potential client, it's a no-brainer, almost marginal cost to have those calls answered. And since we charge per call, there's never any charge for spam or sales calls or wrong numbers.
Wow. Okay, so you mentioned a couple of these, but what do answering services do?
So a great answering service will first work with any of the systems that you currently have, right? So you don't need to change your phone system. You don't need to change your website in the form of website chat. You can forward your number. You could even port it if you want to, but then they will answer. Warm transfer is important. So you get a heads up and you get to approve whether or not a call is coming into you. They should be able to handle transfers to a number of different people at your business or different departments and different instructions for different types of callers. So imagine there are instructions for new potential clients and then existing clients. Maybe existing clients can be transferred and new potential clients are scheduled so that you can prepare for that call. Now, the payment collection is something that answering services that have, clear financial non-disclosure agreements with their receptionist, they can handle that. Obviously, security is a top concern. And then integrations with the calendaring, billing, CRM, marketing automation systems that you use. At Smith.ai, we have one free CRM with every account. So whether you use Salesforce, HubSpot, et cetera, you'll get that information in there. So important, not adding to the data entry chore, but taking over those simple tasks that are routine communication chores, scheduling, intake, new client, sort of pre-qualification, et cetera.
Wow. So what is web chat service?
So web chat is a sort of nebulous world. It could mean a lot of different things. For us, it means a chat widget on your website that is staffed by live agents combined with AI for really standard and consistent and accurate, speedy responses. We also have a free chat bot that is not a chat software. It's not chat that you would use to communicate through chat on your website. It's actually completely automated. So it's just the software. It doesn't allow you to interrupt the chat. Now that's very helpful for sequenced conversations where you might want to ask a few questions, get someone down the right path. They could get a call back, they could fill out a form or a scheduling link. That's actually a software that we provide for free for the basic chat bot with optional add-ons. Now there's through chat, we have made that available to answer Facebook messages and also text messages for the business. And on the answering side, you can call back those chat leads if you have both the answering service and the chat service.
So how to improve chat customer service? When I think about these, the problem is you want the robots to handle the first part of the conversation to quickly discern and then hand it over to a human. But usually that just goes dead because you didn't design the question flow right.
Yeah, so that's a huge problem. And we built the sort of funnel performance tracker for that reason. With every single funnel, basically a playbook, a sequence conversation, you've got each question in what you believe is the right order with answers that are options that relate to your target audience, et cetera. Now, there are a lot of assumptions built into that, which I think you're getting at to some extent, and it's totally true. You want to know how many people are dropping off at what stage of that question sequence, and can you front load the ones that are answered more often, more easily? And can you look at the language and say, am I using terms that my potential clients understand? Do I need to bring it down to a more basic level? Typically you want to be writing in a third grade reading level, for your website, maybe fifth grade, but that's really the most. So if you're using complex terms, even if you have a business audience, they don't have time to be doing that processing and sit there and wonder what the right answer is. It should be pretty intuitive. You don't need to impress the pants off of them in the chat bot. You want to get them to the point where they can connect with someone who will impress the pants off of them. So this is all about getting them to that next stage and talking to the right people. And that's why we built that funnel performance tracker. And no matter what playbook you have running, you can see the funnel performance. So you might have a customer support ticket playbook where they're telling you what issue they have, and you might have a new lead playbook where someone is giving you information and explaining why they're looking for your services or product.
When you say playbook, it reveals a lot of strategy and pre-work that's been done to set these processes up for success. Do you guys help with that?
We do. And actually, we do it completely for free. There is a sort of team behind every live staff chat account that comes on board. We built the software, so we will install it on your website for you. We understand a lot of businesses don't have administrators at their disposal, IT at their disposal, and that might be an extra cost, even if there's a consultant for that available to you. So we will not only set it up, we will interpret even your call handling instructions and bring those into chat for you, or follow your guidance for how you'd like those chats to be handled. And you also get a dashboard to see all of the chats that have come through and to look through those and see who needs follow-up if they're not immediately going into your CRM. But that account setup, even the coloring and branding and tone, the greeting of the chat, the placement on your site and the timing of it, that is all something that we will set up for you.
Wow. Here's another question again. What is sales support?
What is what?
Sales support.
Oh, sales support.
Yeah.
I mean, there is so much in that realm. We don't even have time, but in the lens of Smith.ai, sales support is really getting to that sales qualified lead, marketing qualified lead, maybe even, right? So you're getting that sales executive the appointment. And it's important that when you have leads through events like webinars, campaigns that you're running, maybe really qualified leads who have gone a bit quiet given the time of year seasonality, even on an ongoing basis, are you reaching out and following up with them? So one of the things that we did to extend the sales support at Smith.ai is we looked at the calls and we looked at sort of the conversation flow. And a lot of people were asking us, can you send calls and emails? Well, getting into email is a whole nother thing. It requires a lot of setup, and it's a bit scary, right? To have someone else have your email domain and sending emails on your behalf. So we said, how can we get to the core, the most important thing here? And we added SMS and email follow-up after the calls that we are handling, either inbound or outbound. So if we are making a call to a webinar registration lead, for example, they learn more about your business, they seem like a potential client, marketing qualified, to call them back and then to miss that call, or to have a short conversation, or now's not the right time, or even a good conversation and they don't bite yet. Yes, you'll probably initiate an email nurture flow. You may have us make some calls back, but an instant text message or email or both after that call, so that that person, when they have their lunch break or a moment after dinner, can just go back to it and say, I've thought about this and I do want to move forward. I talked to my spouse, I talked to my business partner, I talked to my team, and I'm ready to move forward. You want to have that at their fingertips, and that's what it does. And with SMS, we find that the open rate is extremely high, and that can be a very good way to send a calendar link for the sales executive. That would be the next step in that sales process.
Excellent. So when I think of AI, I think of artificial intelligence, machine learning, natural language processing. What all does that mean with Smith.ai?
So we have a very strong engine that helps the receptionist do their work in the most efficient way, as clearly to them as possible, and then as clearly throughout the workflow for our businesses as possible. So it means a number of things. One is the automatic sort of spam blocking and detection is critical, because as you can imagine, as a business ourselves, if we're not charging the clients for them, we want to prevent the receptionist from answering as many of those as possible. So that sort of detection is critical. Understanding, what are the different dynamics at play when spammers or salespeople call, and how to flag those, not just leaving it up to interpretation for the receptionist. On the integration side, a lot of API, OAuth sort of connections into other business software. And there's real-time English translation on the chat. So that means that if I'm an English speaking receptionist and you, Steve, speak Spanish and you type in Spanish, I can actually translate your chat for me in English and have my response in English go back to you in Spanish. Wow. So things like that with the NLP, natural language processing, critical to have incorporated. We have a lot of complex call routing that's very important as well, not really on the AI side, but on the complexity of the service. More on the AI side, we're looking at how do we detect sort of the tone and sentiment. That's something that we're looking at, and make sure that the receptionist is, as is often the case with great customer service, matching the tone and the intent of that business, right? We might have businesses who have a very strict screening process. We might have other businesses that are looking for any client, they're in this immediate new kickoff growth phase where they're happy to have anyone contact their business. It's really important that we are able to detect effectively where that call needs to go and how fast or how stringent you process it. So it's always evolving, but I think that the English-Spanish translation is a really cool example, because it speaks to something that it would be a huge business expense to have language training or only hire bilingual receptionists when our business doesn't demand that necessarily, nor do our clients. But sometimes it does. So how do you account for that and not have a massive cost up front that's one of the ways. Deliver that responsiveness in the preferred language, deliver great customer experience and service in that way without overburdening our business to have all bilingual speakers when we don't need to. So that's, I think, the perfect example.
So I'm curious about what's like the most unique, creative way that a business has used Smith AI.
That's a very good question. I honestly would say that it's almost not about the most unique, creative way to use Smith AI, because the lowest hanging fruit is the most impactful. So think about what's going to have the greatest impact. But, we have people who are trying us out in all different ways all the time, and it might be using all the services sort of together. What we find are that the people who turn it into a routine, not just inbound, but also outbound, have the greatest success. And I guess it's creative because you do need to come up with that plan yourself and have it match your business goals. But for example, if we're answering all of these calls and we are scheduling appointments, we're transferring calls, we're getting that business moving for you and immediately. So you might also have on a recurring basis account, you are getting a call back that is at the same time every month, consistently making sure that they pay their bill. That's really bringing that vendor, that solution into your business in a way that is repeatable. It's beyond just that one person who's managing it. You have like a seat at the table. So I would say, at the outset, the most important thing is not to get creative, but to do it, because there's so many people who have heard about answering services and they have stalled and they said, that's not the most important thing for my business. I need to spend money on marketing. I need to get my branding. I'm redoing my website. You should not do any of those things until you have a basic answering service, to have a foundation that's strong, to capture everything that you're pouring your heart and money and energy into, so that when you do all of those things, you have the confidence that you spent your money wisely on those marketing channels and those platforms, because you're going to answer every time and you're going to get the most value out of that. It's what your competitors are not doing. A lot of people, again, procrastinate with this, and it is the single biggest thing that you can do to win more business and to take it away potentially from competitors.
Wow. Yeah. In my book, I talk about, everyone's all about promoting, doing posts and ads and things, but they don't have the systems in place to harvest the activity they generate. So that's excellent what you just shared.
And the human connection is critical, Steve. I mean, if you just have an email nurture drip going, and if your clients are worth at least a few $100s to you, then it makes sense to have those calls go out to them. It makes sense to have a phone line that is answered 24/7, because it is a small incremental cost that is month to month, flexible for you, add or take away as you please, to at least say, I know that when I call, the conversion rate to appointment is, let's say, 1 out of 10. And if I can get them on the phone, it's 1 out of 2 or 3 who are going to move forward with me, because my campaign is really well targeted, right? And my sales team is excellent. I'm excellent on the phone. Great. You know that if you pay $5 for a call or $7 for a call, right? And even if you have one move forward, it is immediately paying you back. All those calls that don't get answered doesn't matter, because you know your conversion rate. So it's not just about making the most of your spend. It's also about looking at your numbers and honestly saying, if I'm running this campaign, how many new clients am I getting right now? How many missed calls do I have right now? And are you listening in on those calls and seeing how your team, whether that's your marketing person, social media, paralegal, yourself, are they a little bit grumpy or impatient? Are they not hitting all their marks? Mm-hmm. One of the beautiful things about sort of a contractor or vendor solution is that we have to adhere to your instructions, or else we don't have a job anymore, right? So staff might have more leniency, but that also can create performance expectations and issues. So sometimes a contractor or a vendor is really the way to go to make sure the execution is on par every time.
You're listening or watching the ROI Online Podcast. Our guest today is Maddy Martin. She's the VP of Marketing at Smith.ai. Maddy, what's one question I didn't ask that you wished I would ask so that you can answer?
So I think one of the questions that is never asked, not just you didn't ask it, but almost no one asks, is what do I do with the unqualified leads? Most of the time people think I'm just going to, tell them to take a hike or thanks so much, have a good day, right? But that's a huge missed opportunity because most businesses have a network. Maybe they're local businesses. You don't have to be retail, but people know about you and they may know about you online. They may even write a review if you're unhelpful at the end of that conversation and move them off to another place. It's not my business. Sorry, have a good day. Go back to your Google search results. That's not a good experience. And when we see client experience getting sort of the forefront, the head of the table of the conversation, right? That's most important to clients today. It's responsiveness. It's also what happens during that conversation. If you tell them to take a hike, you risk a negative review and it's totally preventable. Do you have a list of other businesses that you recommend or you can refer clients to if you're not a good fit? If you know they're not a good fit, you should have other recommended businesses. It should not feel like a risk or a competitive disadvantage. And that is network building. Those businesses, if you don't already have a relationship with them, will want to build a relationship with you and will send referrals back to you. Because here's the thing, you already paid for that lead. You already paid for that call. During that conversation, maximize it as best you can to monetize future business coming back to you, either in the form of goodwill. Maybe they leave a 5-star review because you put them in touch with a business that they did end up hiring. And that was thanks to you or thanks to your receptionist team. So be very mindful about how all callers are treated and not just those who are qualified to move forward with an appointment or a purchase.
Boom. That was excellent, Maddy.
Thank you.
Well, I've really enjoyed having you on the ROI Online Podcast. How can folks connect with you or how should they reach out to you? So
visit Smith.ai. That's our website. And you can actually chat with us there, which we would love to chat with you. You can call us at 650-727-6484. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, everywhere, online, Instagram, you name it. But we also would be happy to hear from you by email if you prefer, just hello@smith.ai. We did create a special coupon, Steve, for your listeners and viewers. So if you use the code ROI Online, you will get $100 off your first month of service for both calls and chats.
There you go. You're welcome. Thanks, Maddy.
Thanks for having me, Steve. It was great to be here.
All right. And that's a wrap.